Back to our top story now, the surveillance scandal in America and the reaction it has received across the globe, especially in Europe, which the US has apparently been keeping a very close eye on. Well, we are now joined by Jim Culloch, Executive Director of London-based campaigners, the Open Rights Group. Thanks for your time this evening. We've heard a lot of discontent and even outrage, haven't we, from various European officials. But what have the British said about this scandal?
Well, obviously, many of the newspapers, The Guardian, particularly who broke the story, are outraged. And I have to say, Open Rights Group supporters are also extremely outraged. I feel there's a lot of public discontent. But the truth is that our government have been extremely complacent about this. William Hague brushed off all of the concerns that had been expressed, saying that the British had done nothing illegal, that any information that the Americans had shared with them had been done under all of the relevant laws. The problem is, of course, there are more or less no relevant laws, and the government has got an extremely free hand in the kind of information it uses from foreign sources. So that is very, very little comfort to us.
You mentioned there's not much legislation against it. EU officials have demanded assurances that Europeans won't be spied on, but I mean, how can they be sure that they're not?
Well, as far as the US Constitution goes, there is more or less nothing that they can do. The Americans they apply no privacy rights to non-US nationals. They claim that essentially that anyone who is a foreign person can be spied on by them, as if they have if there are a national interest in doing so. So basically, if you're a business that competes with American strategic businesses, if you are somebody protesting against American foreign policy, if you're a journalist that breaks a story like that about PRISM, then if you're foreign, the American government believes that it's got a right to spy on you. I think that's extremely broad, and I don't think there's much that they can say to the Europeans which is currently going to mean very much at all.
Now, there are some reports that the UK not only knew about America's PRISM programme, but also they had access to it. Why do you feel that Britain isn't facing the same level of criticism?
Well, I think it is facing a good deal of criticism within the UK. I think there's been less within Parliament than there should be. I think a lot of politicians have been very acquiescent and they haven't really grasped completely what is going on here. But I think there is a lot of criticism out in society at large. I think what is a bit disturbing about the attitude of our government at the moment is that they're resting on the laurels of the Americans. They think, well, this is great, we've got a close relationship with the Americans, we're benefiting from the intelligence we get from them, so let's not rattle the cage too much. I think that doesn't apply, for instance, to the German government in the same way, or many other European governments who have a more respectful relationship with their own laws and expect to respect privacy rights of their citizens, and have been really quite shocked about what the Americans are doing. And Germans in particular, they've had such experience of what surveillance really means for their society that they do their absolute best to stop it from happening within Germany. So when they find that the Americans are spying on them pretty much more than any other European country, then of course they're going to be very shocked and angry.
And what does this story tell us about the scale of global surveillance?
I think what it tells us is that our data can be accessed reasonably easily when it's in a particular country, and the United States is where most of our data lives. You know, if we use Google, Facebook, Microsoft products, then our data ends up in America. But I think the real lesson is you can do this properly. The Americans are not doing it properly. The Americans have written secretive laws which say if they want to spy on these data, on our data in American data centers, then they can do it in secret without telling the public who they're working with, how their systems work, or indeed even how many of these warrants they issue. And if you have that kind of secretive process and secret courts deciding what can and can't be done, then you have a completely unaccountable system, and you can badger politicians, you can threaten politicians into agreeing to all kinds of things. Because if you say to a politician, this is your choice, spy on some citizens who we think are guilty, or deal with terrorist atrocities, they will choose the spying.
Jim,
that's why it's got to be out in the open with courts.
Great, I understand your point there. We have run out of time, but thank you very much for coming on to RT. That's Jim Culloch from the Open Rights Group, live from London. Thank you.